Good afternoon, everyone. Um, right off the bat, forgive me today. I have had a cold, bronchitis, and uh, I my voice is not very strong, so it might be annoying or irritating or great on your nerves, but I hope not. Hopefully, it'll be okay enough that you'll be able to listen to this. But I don't want to take any more time off because I want to make sure that I can try to stay on track each week with the different accusers as we still continue to move within the wrongful conviction of Daniel Holtzclaw. So, pardon me for the coughs and the um, raspy, ugly voice, but it'll be okay. Cherie is going to be here momentarily. She had to restart her computer, and so she'll be here as quickly as possible. And she's given us a message here that she'll be here ASAP, and I know she will. And uh, W Daisy Girl, hey, welcome. It's great to have you here, and hopefully you'll find more interest in this case because it's pretty crazy and tragic and disgusting, quite frankly. So thanks for being here and giving your support. Man's Life, it is so good to see you. I'm so happy to see you. Yeah, great to see you as well. Thank you for being here and for showing support for Daniel. I really appreciate it. And I know Daniel does too. So, what we're going to do today, and I think I've mentioned in the past, StreamYard has made a lot of really nice updates. But I don't mess around with it enough to know them or to, excuse me, or to play with them or to figure out how to use them. So um, I apologize, but I think I have this part figured out. And here's Cherie. Hi, Cherie. Welcome and Happy New Year. You're muted. Cherie might still be working on getting her stuff figured out. But yes, before I move on, I also wanted to wish everybody a Happy New Year. We're 5 days into 2025, so let's we're just going to keep hoping for good things for everyone in the country and in the world. And I'll just leave it at that. I hope for some great things to happen in this next year. So, Cherie, when you get all figured out and unmuted, please, pop in and say hello.
I think I'm all set. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Wrongful Conviction of Daniel Holtzclaw.
Um, I'm glad you're speaking because I am not hearing through my headphones. So give me just a second.
Oh,
Not that I need to hear anything really, but
well, maybe they can't hear either.
huh?
I guess you can't hear me. I said maybe they can't hear either. I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you through my computer, but not through my
Okay.
headphones for whatever reason. Um, I don't know why. I've never used to have problems with headphones or computers or anything like that, and whatever reason. Okay. All right. Go ahead and give us a hello again, Cherie.
Hi.
Okay, there we go. All right. Perfect.
Yay.
Great. I'm all hooked up now. I can hear you. So we're going to go ahead. Cherie is going to help me, hopefully. We're going to just go through all the pages of the Rosetta Grate police report and start with that. Cherie, I don't know if you heard me when we started, but my voice isn't very good today, so hopefully you'll be able to jump in, and I know you will help me read whenever we get to new parts and stuff, if that's okay.
Okay.
So what I want to do to start with is like I said, we're gonna start with Rosetta Grate's um, with the police report. Um, I do have let's see, I just want to make sure that everybody that is here can see what we're reading. And then if you see something that we don't touch on in the report, definitely you can, you know, give us a question or something in the comments, and, you know, we'll try to address it for you certainly before this is all done today. But like I said, basically just going to do the police report today that was taken in response to the first interview with Rosetta Grate. Okay, hopefully that is. So I'm going to just be kind of reading the report. I won't be able to see chat or anything. So Cherie, if anybody does have a question, perhaps you can stop me and you know, so I can address a question. Excuse me. Okay, so this accusation was procured on August 27th of 2014. So by this time, Daniel's already been charged and you know, incarcerated for a short time. He may be out on bond at this point. I'm not sure. We'll cover all that stuff in another live stream another day. But at any rate, his picture by this time has been all over the TV, and the stories itself, the accusations themselves, had been out since June 21st or 3rd, when Janie Liggins went to the news and reported that she had been assaulted by an Oklahoma City police officer. But it wasn't until August 21st or August 22nd that they arrested Daniel and put him all over the news with his picture and all that stuff, his mugshot, everything else. So this report is taken on August 27th after he's been arrested. And it was taken by Kim Davis and Detective Kim Davis
And Holman.
And Valerie Holman. And there is going to be a supplemental report in here too by Valerie that we'll read along with it. So this is I just wanted to read this part because this is how I think we talked about this way back when we finished up with Carla Raines, and I was talking about the list and all of those things. But the list, if you remember, if you heard that last episode for Carla Raines, when we read the trial transcripts of Rocky Gregory, who was the detective on her particular case, he made a big argument with Scott Adams, the defense attorney. And when Scott Adams was asking about the list, Rocky Gregory was being very obtuse and annoying and really just stupid and obnoxious. And he kept saying the list is Varuna and AVL and Varuna and AVL. But Scott Adams knew that there was a list that had been talked about several times. But Rocky Gregory was just being a dickhole and was not, not going to give Musney or give Scott Adams any kind of information regarding a list. So this, I mentioned then that Kim Davis started every single one of her reports on all of the women that she investigated or took complaints from gave complaints to, I should say. This is how she started every single one of hers, and it was the body of her report every single time. She says, Lieutenant Musney gave me a list of several females that he wanted contacted because we had still not found a match to the unidentified female DNA found on Officer Holtzclaw's pants. Rosetta Grate was on the list. On 8:15, Detective Holman and I went to the jail. She was in jail at this point. Rosetta Grate was. Oh no, let me back up. They went to an address in Oklahoma City, and it was a listed address for Rosetta Grate from her Varuna report. They made contact with Johnny Grate, who was her father. Johnny Grate said that, I don't know why I can't get my little selector thing here. Johnny had said that Rosetta doesn't live with him. However, she does come home every now and then when she needs some rest. And can be safely assumed, when he says needs some rest, it's a time to recover. He's talking about time for her to recover from her prostitution activities and her drug activities. I believe that was safe to assume. What, don't you agree, Cherie?
I do.
Okay. So Kim Davis says, and this is another thing that Kim Davis does, and Rocky too, but Kim Davis does, that is right off the bat so I can't think of the right words, but inappropriate ways to approach any sort of investigation. Now remember, this is Rosetta Grate's dad. Rosetta Grate is an adult at this point. So as I read this first little bit, this first paragraph, just kind of decide how you feel about the way Kim Davis approaches this with Rosetta Grate's dad. So, excuse me, Kim Davis says, I told Johnny I had received information that Rosetta might have been sexually assaulted. So that to me is the first no for any investigator to say regarding an adult who's over 18 years of age. I just think it's inappropriate for the detectives to say that to her father. I mean, help me out here. I'm just curious. I'm going to switch over to Streamyard. Does anybody feel like you can put a thumbs up or something in the chat? Does anyone else feel like that's a completely inappropriate way to approach anyone, a parent or anybody else, about an alleged assault of their child? Cherie, I mean, what is your opinion about that?
Yeah, especially when their goal is allegedly to question her to see if she was assaulted, and they're not even talking to her, they're talking to her father, like you said. And it's just, they should, if they were on the up and up and had any brains, allegedly, they would say, we need to talk to her about an issue or something, and not necessarily tell them exactly what it's about, or, of course that would make her curious, but she was anyway, as you'll find out in the interview. So
Right. Well, exactly. She should be curious. But well, yeah. When we get to the interviews, the video recorded interviews next week, you'll see how she behaves with their first interview. Nan's Life says, was he approached before or after questioning the supposed victim? I would think the victim should be spoken to first. Exactly. And he was spoken to before they couldn't find Rosetta that was where her last address where she lived, that they could find, and it was her father's house. So yeah, they spoke to him before they had even found Rosetta, which
On
is
the
horrible.
15th, yeah, they spoke. That's when they went to her dad's house, but they didn't talk to her until the 27th.
Right. Is this not changing pages with us? Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So on the 15th, that was on the 15th, like Cherie said, that they went to the house where her father lived. So, so anyway, and then now remember, wait a second, Cherie, I'm just noticing something here. Sorry, guys. We're going to continue our investigation of this case as we present it to you guys. So, but here it says on the 15th. Okay, I see now. On the 15th, she said that she doesn't live with them, like I said, but she just shows up when she needs some rest to recover from, a busy time of prostitution and excessive drug use. She had received it, and then that she had been assaulted. And Johnny said, "Are you talking about that officer?" Now, Daniel hadn't been arrested by the 15th of August yet, but he had the report of a Oklahoma City police officer was out there, so they knew that Johnny Grate knows that there's an officer. He's seen that on the news, and so after she tells him that his daughter may have sexually been assaulted. I don't. I I have doubts that everything gets put in these police reports the way we read them. There are other reports or recorded interviews where we hear Kim Davis say by an Oklahoma may have been sexually assaulted by an Oklahoma City police officer. So I'm suspicious that she might have actually said that to Johnny Grate at this time, but she didn't write that in her report because he comes back with, "Are you talking about that officer?" So anyway, Kim Davis goes on. I asked him what he knew about that, and he said Rosetta came home very upset about a month ago. She told him a cop took her somewhere and forced her to perform oral sex on him. Johnny took my card and said he would tell Rosetta to call me the next time he saw her. So that's the body of Kim Davis's report in just trying to get in touch with Rosetta Grate. So that's on the 15th of August. Then on this is what she goes on and says after that. On the 27th, Detective Holman contacted Sergeant Cadena and Sergeant Furr and had them go to Northeast 14th Street to look for Rosetta's purse and broken glass that could have been a crack pipe. And you'll find out why she does this as we go on. Sergeant Cadena said there was glass all over the intersection, and there would be no way to determine if a particular crack pipe. And remember, this is a very high crime area that Daniel was patrolled in, and lots of prostitution, lots of drug use, and things like that. So when he says there's broken glass all over the intersection, it makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that Kim Davis sends him to go look for broken glass because this assault is allegedly had taken place months earlier. So it was just ridiculous to begin with.
Well, the way they
go ahead.
Investigate is, if she said a stop happened, and if there was glass from that pipe there, and that means everything else she said is true,
Right.
That's the way they investigate, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very frustrating. If you haven't already seen by now, those of you who are following the case, the way they investigate is very, very shady and scandalous and full of what I believe is corruption. Personally, hello, I don't under your scars. It is great to see you. Thank you for being here. So, so she sends a detective or a sergeant to go look for broken glass from Rosetta Grate that would have been there, placed there, put there, left there months earlier. This Kim Davis is just ridiculous. They also drove around looking for Rosetta's purse, but they were unable to locate it. Again, as we go through this report, you'll understand what that means. Janet Mansfield, they contacted Janet Mansfield. She's the supervisor in the CIU unit where, Rocky, kept talking about the CIU and Varuna. That's what it was, he was saying. So anyway, she's the supervisor in charge of the CIU. By this time, this happens on the 28th of, allegedly, of the 28th of August, the date after the first interview with Rosetta Grate, which was reported on the 27th of August. So this unit is responsible for checking subjects for wants and warrants and for officers in the field. Davis says that Janet and I went over the log sheets involved in this case to find out which employee took the request from Holtzclaw and conducted the search for wants and warrants. And Amy Scott was the employee who helped do that. And what that's talking about is because we already know that Rosetta's on the list, and part of that information comes from CIU. So they already know that he's on the list. So why she's doing, in my opinion, she has to go to CIU supervisors and employees to find out the date that this alleged assault took place. Because as you'll find out as we go through and as we listen to the video next week, she doesn't know the date. None of them ever know the dates or the locations of their alleged assaults. So this is just another one. So Kim Davis has to go and find out the date. The day after she interviews Rosetta the first time, she goes to find out what the date could have been. And they'll find that by looking at the dates that Daniel requested information about Rosetta from CIU. I don't know if I'm making any sense, guys. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, and Rosetta, I listened to the podcast again, Bates podcast again today, and Rosetta said that he didn't call it in, but he did.
He did, and we'll play that call for you. Not today, but we'll play the call in for you. Cherie, can you read this one, and I'll give my voice a rest?
Sure. This is Lieutenant Tim Musney, the supervisor of Kim and Rocky and Valerie. I contacted Unit 800 and had the supervisor, Janet Mansfield, look up all the females that 2C45, which is Daniel, ran through them from April 2014 to June 18th, 2014. She gave me a list, and I began checking the names through our Varuna system to see if any of the persons checked had a criminal history. I was specifically looking for women who had either a drug history or a history of prostitution. I then made a list of women who I felt we needed to make contact with to see if they were a victim of sexual assault. of a sexual assault. After detectives went and interviewed a person on the list who stated that she was sexually assaulted, we then went back and expanded our search and went back to January 2014. I then took those added names and checked them with our Veruna system to see if they had a drug or prostitution history. The persons who fit this profile were added to a list to make contact with to see if they were a victim of a sexual assault.
Thank you so much for reading that. So this, when April 2014 to June of 2014, we already knew that was untrue. We have information in documentation, emails and such, that it was actually before April of 2014. So then he says that he expanded it to January of 2014 here, but we also have information that it was actually before January of 2014 that they how far back they went. It was farther than even that. So we know that, we believe that that they went back to at least December of 2013, and that'll become apparent in a future accuser that we're going to go through. So on excuse me, August 28th, 2014, Kim Davis checked the Veruna list and the crime information list to see when Holtzclaw conducted searches on Rosetta Grate, and these are the dates that that they came up with. Well, it's the same date. It's one date basically, and that was April 24th of 2014. So now, just so you guys understand, at this point, we can't find any proof. And during one of the accusers' cases being presented, and I can't remember which one it is, during one of those, though, we learn, okay, let me just try to back up. We believe that the AVL information, which is the automated vehicle locator, or GPS, same thing. We know, okay, so we know that Daniel ran her on the 24th of April of 2014 at, what is that, 7:06 p.m. that night. So what we still don't know is what the location was, other than what Rosetta Grate will describe to Kim Davis in this interview. But Kim Davis needs to make sure, she needs to find that location, that exact location, verify that Daniel was there, and that he stopped her there, so that she can give that exact date and location to Rosetta Grate as she continues to tell her story, and as Davis presents this particular accuser's case to the prosecutor. So that was. Now, here's where we're going to talk about the AVL maps a little bit. Sergeant Joe Hill is he's the one who is in charge of OCP dispatch. During the investigation, Sergeant Joe Hill provided me with the following evidence: AVL information from 4/24/14, showing the route that Officer Holtzclaw drove when he took Rosetta Grate home. And we'll get to that part of the report soon. This shows the amount of time he is stopped at Northeast 14th and Jordan when he picked her up, and the amount of time he spends at her residence. They looked for AVL maps where Officer Holtzclaw stopped Rosetta Grate, Northeast 14th and Jordan. An AVL map when Officer Holtzclaw went to Rosetta Grate's residence. I got pictures and information about that. Radio traffic when Officer Holtzclaw checked Rosetta for warrants through the Crime Information Unit. This is what Cherie was talking about earlier, the radio traffic, because Rosetta Grate says that he didn't call it in, but he did. And you know, if Holman and Davis don't already suspect she's lying, this should be an indication that this was at least one lie that she told. Really sorry. Let me check with it. Are you guys able to hear me okay? I'm really sorry that I feel like my voice is.
Yeah,
okay?
I can hear you okay. But I am here
Okay.
to do, I can read, and if you want do reading, if you want to do the commenting whenever, you know.
Okay. I think it might be better because I think the more I talk, the worse my voice is getting. So really quickly, I see 24/7 live Arizona Skies. Welcome and thank you so much for being here. And Happy New Year to you as well. Okay. He lets it slip in one of the accusers' statements, police reports. What Cherie's taught. Cherie, I'll let you explain what you're talking about there, and then we'll go from there.
I was what I'm sorry, I was typing something. What did you just say?
Where Joe Hill slips about when he was locating.
Oh yeah, it's one of the accusers. I'm not sure which one. One of the ones toward the end where his report alludes to the fact that they're getting the AVL before they go visit the ladies, where Kim and Rocky are trying to make it sound like they wait till they got everything from the ladies and then they check the AVL to see if it matches up, so they're being sneaky.
Yeah. The thing is that to help each of these accusers' allegations be credible, rather than information that was given to them by the detectives, they need to be able to give a location and a date, a time of day, all those things. But none of these accusers know any of that. I mean, they know little bits or pieces from their original stop, but they don't remember the location, the date, the time. Some of them can remember it was, late, it was dark out, it was cold, it was warm, different little things like that. But they have to get the information from the detectives, are having to get that information from the AVL reports. And then they go back and talk to these accusers again and say, well, we don't know what they say. I'm assuming something to the effect, okay, we know you're telling the truth. Could that date have been this, this exact date and this exact location? Because this is what the information shows us. In fact, Cherie, if I'm not mistaken, when we do get to Adara Gardner's case, I feel like something gets said about during her interview as well by Kim Davis that she kind of slips. Again.
It might be in the police reports too, but I'm pretty sure it's in the her trial testimony. And then Kim comes on and says, "Oh, she misremembered."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. She misremembered. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mute and let you finish reading.
Haven't you read on this page? Read all of it, or? I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. I think this is Kim Davis.
Yes, this is gonna be. Sorry, this is gonna be the beginning of the police report now, as written by Kim Davis.
This is when they go, like they already went to see her once on the 27th. And this is when Rosetta called back and said, my mind is cleared up now and I remember more. So,
you know what, help me keep track of this page number right here, and I'll find the first interview report. I don't know why it's like this. This is a supplemental, I guess. Yeah, standard supplemental. So, yeah, because we want to know this first part before we get to that. I'm not sure why that's in there where it is. So we're gonna read through some information by one of the witnesses that one witness, a potential witness from Rosetta's case that Kim Davis and Holman did interview. I guess it was Holman that did it, and this was on.
This is the neighbor, I believe,
yeah.
that
Yeah. The old lady across the street.
Verify whether she saw the cop's car there and all.
Right. Okay. This is from Valerie Holman. Go ahead, Cherie.
On 9/2, I met with Carol Sullivan at 634 Culbertson Drive, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Carol is the neighbor to 633 Culbertson Drive, which is where Rosetta claims this assault took place. I introduced myself and advised her of the investigation. Carol gave the following information. Carol and her husband have lived plus ran a law firm at her residence for 15 plus years. She said they travel to and from Lawton, Oklahoma, where their other business is located. Carol said she knew of the lady Winnell, which owned 633 Culbertson Drive, but died in 2013. Carol said she took in a black male prior to passing, and he still lives in the residence. I asked if she knew his name. She believes his name was Willie. She said after Winnell's passing, he just took up residency. Carol said a niece from Chicago came to the residence after Winnell passed, but she did not know what that involved. I asked Carol if she remembered seeing a police car in the driveway of the residence 633 approximately 3 to 4 months ago. She did not. However, she did say she travels to and from Lawton, Oklahoma for business. The interview lasted a few more minutes, then ended.
Okay. And then we have, this is going to be, I'll read this one, it's a little shorter. This is going to be the physical evidence that Kim Davis is going to put into the report. It's going to be an affidavit for a search warrant for 633 Culbertson, where Rosetta stayed, and an affidavit for the search warrant and the actual search warrant itself. And it says, based on the information Rosetta gave Detective Holman and I during her second interview, I completed an affidavit for a search warrant and a search warrant for 633 Culbertson Drive. And then on September 3rd, that's when she went to get the search warrant from Judge Cindy Trong, who, with reading through different documents and information that we have and things that we found, reports of her that we found that cannot be verified, I'll just say, Cindy Trong was definitely she was definitely in support. Of course, it's the way they always are, but I guess what I'm trying to say without saying it is it looks like Cindy Trong may have been a dirty judge. So she signed both the documents. Detective Holman conducted a deconfliction at 7:33 hours, and a threat assessment was conducted at 7:49 hours with Lieutenant Busney. And I think that was to talk about what threats they might encounter as they did this, pull off this search warrant later. These are all the people. We don't need to go through this. I'll come back to this a little bit later, but this is all information. These are all the people who were involved in the search warrant, the search of Rosetta's residence based on her second interview. So we'll come back to that later as well. I will say this, Willie was very, very angry when this happened, but you'll see why later. So this is all standard. The evidence, we won't go through this. These are always part of all the investigations that they do. They get the shift 2 lineup, which was Daniel's shift, was shift 2, and the activity cards that Daniel may have written for those shifts. So this is for April 24th of 2014. Again, just a reminder, Daniel did not always fill out his activity cards. It's not illegal, but it wasn't necessarily a violation for any officer to not fill those out. But all the information is already in the systems by now. By the time he needs to fill out an activity card, they make a big deal about these activity cards not being filled out. A lot of them, using that as another reason why he was trying to hide what he was actually doing. It's not proof of anything at all. So that's what this particular physical evidence was about. And then this is information that they got from Rosetta. They got a buccal swab, and a waiver for the buccal swab, and the taped interview, the recorded interview that they did with her for the first interview that they did with her. I'll start this, Cherie, and then I'll stop and let you go, and we'll take turns. So this is where we actually begin the first interview with Rosetta Grate. On 8/27, Detective Homan and I went to the Oklahoma County Jail to interview Rosetta Grate. It was recorded, and this report will be a summary and not word for word. Okay, I get that, but because Rocky did the same thing, but his wasn't even a summary of his interview with Carla Raines. It was a little story that he told, completely fabricated.
Creative writing
With poor grammar and poor spelling and all the things. Davis starts out. Rosetta is a 38-year-old Black female. She claims she was molested by her stepfather when she was young. Molestation was never reported. She also said she has had unwanted sex because of drugs she uses. Her drugs of choice are marijuana and crack cocaine. She said she has been arrested multiple times. She has prostitution and offering to engage in an act of lewdness arrest. She said she doesn't have any medical problems and no mental health history. I mean, we can't talk about her medical history and her mental health history, but I can speculate what I think her mental health history is. I'm not saying it for fact. I have to make sure I'm saying that, but I believe and you guys can all decide for yourselves when we watch the recorded interviews next week. You can decide for yourself if you think she's a liar or she might have mental health problems or anything like that. I believe she has mental health problems, and I believe she's a liar. She said she's not married. She has a 17-year-old daughter who lives with her brother and sister-in-law. She said she has had a drug problem for 9 years, and she is currently in jail on a violation of suspended sentence. She said she is AWOL from the drug program. Rosetta does not know the date. when the officer assaulted her. But she does say that it occurred, it was daylight outside, and she was in the area of Northeast 14th and Jordan. Northeast 14th and Jordan, for if you can remember back this far, goes all the way back to Tabitha Barnes' accusations, because Daniel believed that Tabitha Barnes' house was a might be based on his, what do they call it, training and experience. Based on his training and experience, he believed that Tabitha's home was a crack house, and she lived on 15th and Jordan. So Rosetta's saying she said she was in the area of Northeast 14th and Jordan, and all of these accusers say in the area of, and most of them are usually somewhere around 15th and Jordan, which also helps Daniel, will help you understand why Daniel was stopping so many people that were coming and going from that residence on 15th and Jordan. She said she had just smoked crack cocaine and she had a crack pipe in her possession. She said she started walking home, but she was hoping she would get a date so she could make some more money. So she was hoping for another trick before she got home so that she could make money, get some more drug money. She said the officer drove up from behind her. He rolled down his window and asked what she was doing in the area. Rosetta said she is honest and told him she was getting high, which she was. She was being honest. She said the officer got out of his vehicle and they were both standing outside of the patrol car. Rosetta said the officer put her purse on top of his car, which Daniel has confirmed he did do. And that's kind of, I don't want to say standard procedure, but it's not uncommon for, an officer when they are searching somebody's belongings to put it on the trunk or the hood of their car. So he did do that. She told the officer the following, that she told this to Daniel, she had relapsed with her drug use. Her boyfriend was upset with her for relapsing. She had no business being in the area she was in, and that she and her boyfriend had an argument. She kept trying to walk home, but every time she started walking, she would get a date and end up back over in this area. Interesting. Sherry, do you want to take over this paragraph? Oops.
Okay. Rosetta said she had a couple of dates that day. She said the officer offered to give her a ride home, and she accepted. She said he searched her purse and found the crack pipe. He made her throw the pipe down on the ground and break it. She said he did not search her before putting her in the back seat of his patrol car. Rosetta said the suspect drove her to 633 Culberson, where her boyfriend lives. She said during the drive, the officer was asking what she did with her dates. He asked her if she gave them head. Rosetta doesn't remember the answer she gave the officer. She said he drove up in the driveway like he lived there. He let her out of his scout car. When she got out of the car, she looked in the back seat for her purse, but it wasn't there. She told the officer he had her purse. She said the officer looked in his front seat and her purse wasn't there. Rosetta said the officer looked in his front seat and her purse, Rosetta said she realized the officer left her purse on top of his scout car when he drove off with her, and now it was gone. Rosetta said she walked to the door of her house. She noticed the officer was following her. She got to the door and he was standing right behind her. She did not question why he was following her. She thought he was making sure she lived there and hadn't lied to him. I should add that Daniel did offer to go back and get the purse, but Rosetta thought, was pretty sure it would be gone. So Kim forgot to mention that. Rosetta did not have a key to the house. She said her boyfriend never locks the door. When she went inside the house, the officer followed her. Her boyfriend was not home. Rosetta said she started telling the officer about the house. This is the living room. This is the den. She thought the officer was verifying that she lived there because she was on probation. She went upstairs and the officer followed her. She said the officer did not talk as he was following her around the house. She didn't question him because she didn't want to get in trouble since she was on probation. When they got upstairs, she showed him her boyfriend's bedroom. She showed him her bedroom. She told him since she and her boyfriend were fighting, they had separate bedrooms. Rosetta said the officer said, "Have a seat." She sat down on her bed. She said the officer unzipped his pants and said, "This is better than county." She said the officer took his penis out of his pants and it was erect. He put it in her mouth. She said as he was moving it in and out of her mouth, his gun was slapping her in the face. She asked him to hold his gun so it wouldn't hit her face. She said he moved his gun. The suspect told her to lay back. She complied. She doesn't remember what she was wearing. She thinks she had on a dress. She said she never wears panties. She said the officer got on top of her and put his penis in her vagina. He was not wearing a condom. She said he had sex with her. She thinks he ejaculated. Rosetta said she thought she heard the door to the house. She said, "The door." She said the suspect zipped up his pants and left the house. She said her boyfriend came home shortly after the officer left. Rosetta said this was not consensual. She said it was one or the other. I asked what she meant by that, and she said it was jail or that. Rosetta said the comforter on that bed had been washed since the incident. When her boyfriend came home, she told him what happened. She thinks this incident occurred at the end of April or beginning of May. She doesn't think the officer checked her for warrants. She said she has never been stopped by him before this incident. She said one time after this incident, she was walking with Eastside. His name is unknown. The officer drove near them and said, "Hey, hey." Rosetta said she didn't stop and ignored him. The officer did not make contact with her. She told Eastside that officer had made her suck him and fuck him. I asked Rosetta if she had seen the news about this incident. She said she had not. She said a friend of hers told her it was on the news, and that friend asked her if she was a victim. Rosetta described the officer as Italian, white, hefty, like a weight builder, more muscle than anything, black hair, good looking, 5'10" to 6 foot, clean shaven. She described his vehicle as a black car with white letters. She did not see his name tag and he never told her his name. Rosetta signed a buccal swab waiver. I took 4 buccal swabs. I secured the buccal swabs and booked them into the OCPD serology on 8/28/14. The buccal swabs were booked under case number 14-49050.
Okay, I know those are some really hard words for us to read out loud, and to to say, I don't know, in a public live stream, but it's part of the police report. The words have to be said. We can't just skip over them or use our other words in place of them. So anyway, Cherie, you did great, because Cherie is not a fan of.
Yeah, I probably should have said F'd him instead, but I forgot.
No. No, you have to say the words. You have to say the right words. I should have took over and read those parts because they are pretty rough. But there's more rough parts that I can read in place. But anyway, so I want to kind of go back to a couple of things. So yeah, her description of Daniel is fairly accurate, I would say. I don't know about Italian. To me, an Italian has darker skin, but she says Italian white, and that he's hefty, like a weight builder. And Daniel was indeed, a weight build, a weight. He competed in weightlifting and things like that. Very, very fit and very, very. His body and what he put in his body were very important to him, and he, you know, so these her description of him, other than the Italian part, isn't crazy or shaky or anything. Uh, I personally, I don't know. Daniel may have done this drive by and or whatever, said hey, but Daniel doesn't remember that specifically. Something like that would have certainly been you know a blink of an eye, and he doesn't remember that specifically happening.
It doesn't sound like him, but
No, it definitely doesn't
he
sound
doesn't
like
seem
him.
like a hey kind of guy. At least not with somebody
Not
with somebody with whatever you call it, people that he encounters in his work there.
a prostitute, a drug addict, and things like that. Yeah, Daniel was much more. How do I want to say this? Um, Professional in ways that cops are professional, I guess, which
Yeah, that's a good description.
Can be questionable in some cases, but like Cherie said, Daniel's not a hey kind of guy. I've spoken to Daniel many times. I can't even imagine him saying something like that. Um, and as we said, she doesn't think that the officer checked her for warrants, but we know that he did. Also, excuse me, she'd never been stopped for him by him before this, and we believe that to be true because otherwise, trust me, if they had found another stop or another CIU or AVL check or whatever on Rosetta, they would have been black. That would all be a part of it. They don't miss anything that they can try to twist and put on Daniel. So I want to say, I just want to bring up, as we'll find out later, she talks about this house at 633 Culbertson, and talks about her boyfriend. Willie is not her boyfriend, and he does not like that she refers to him as her boyfriend. I think that he said that they had, I guess, basically slept together in the past, but to him, it wasn't a relationship. He wasn't a boyfriend. And, she makes it sound like this whole big relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend thing. And Willie says something very different about that, but that's neither here nor there. So here's the question that goes on with this entire part of this entire accuser. She makes these big stories about how he followed her in the house, and he followed her upstairs to the bedroom. And I believe everything about the part up until they go upstairs. We know that Daniel did go into the house. And it was for the reason, like she says, that she thinks he might have been, trying to verify if she lived there, because she had no ID, or no way to prove that she lived there. He didn't want to just drop her off somewhere where she didn't belong, like he wanted to make sure that's where she lived. And so, it makes sense that he did step into the house. And, she may have showed him the living room, the den, those things. Just to, give proof that that's where she lived. I want to, I don't know how this is showing on the screen. Let me look, see. It doesn't show that way. Okay. I'll have to do that a different way. Okay. Well, anyway, if I can't figure out how to do it today, I'll try to put these things on a slide and get excuse me, get pictures of the house. When we were in Oklahoma City in 2023, July of 2023, um, we drove by that house, 633 Cumberson. Is that the word? Now I'm not thinking that's Culberson. I knew it wasn't cumbersome. Thank you. We did drive by the house. We could tell from, based on the pictures that we'll show you at another time, we could tell that the house had been remodeled, and Willie doesn't live there anymore, and Rosetta certainly never really lived there. I mean, she did, but she, it wasn't a permanent residence for her. And I believe after the after everything happened and the home was searched and everything else, she was probably kicked out. I don't know that. That's just my assumption. But so that's the bulk of the story, or the summary of the story, that Kim Davis and Valerie Holman got from the first interview with Rosetta Grate at the jail, when she was in jail. And just to reiterate again, Daniel did call that in when he went to her place. He gave his beginning mileage, I believe, and I'm almost certain we also hear where he gives his ending mileage when he gets ready to leave. And trying to, in the interview, or I didn't see it in the report, but I know that during trial, they try to make it sound like Daniel was in the house for like 15 or 20 minutes, but it really wasn't that much time. And that's me.
Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Rosetta said in her, first, I believe it was the first interview, that he was there for like 30 minutes, but the AVL shows 15.
Right. Yeah, between the AVL and the calls in. Yeah, it wasn't. In fact, I think it was 13 minutes or something. It was less. It was far less than 30 minutes. I'll just say that.
Under your scars, and others in the audience think you need a hot toddy, and under your scars was so gracious as to provide a recipe for you.
Oh, you guys are so nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe after we're done here, I for sure need to do something for my throat. Lozenges aren't really helping, so it's kind of pointless for me to, try to. But thank you for that recipe. I'll definitely, Sheree, copy that down for me in a Word document or something in Discord.
Okay.
Excuse me. So thank you. I appreciate you guys. You're awesome. So basically, this whole story, I want to keep you guys guessing, I guess, a little bit, tease you a little bit to come back next week, although there are other ways that you can hear this interview on your own if you want to. But I'll come back next week with this first interview, well, first and second interviews with Rosetta Grate, so that we can, compare some notes a little bit. This is talking about getting the CAD information, the CAD call from Sergeant Joe Hill, where Daniel, this is proof that he put himself out on the traffic stop, and at 14th and Jordan, and it was around 7 p.m. Hours. So it would have been, I don't know, I don't live in Oklahoma, but middle of April when the stop occurred. It probably was still light outside at that time of day. And then dispatch put him at a secondary location at 7:15. He is at the second location, which is 633 Culbertson at 7:15:40, and then that call was closed at 7:29 and 43 seconds. So that proves, I think it was just a little bit less than 15 minutes that he was there. Um, so again, this is you can't even really call it a dispute or a mistake or a misremember. 30 minutes is a big time lapse between, 15 and 17 minutes or 30 minutes. Um, and she's pretty sure about it. Pretty sure about the amount of time Rosetta Grate is. So that's what that's about. The cat call. These are the charges that they're going to put on Daniel for this particular case, rape one, at on the 24th of April at Culbertson Drive, and then the date processed or the date report was taken was 9/3, September 3rd of 2014, and detective that was assigned, Kim Davis, Valerie Holman, Rob High, and I do not recognize this name, Cannon. Cherie, do you?
No, I
Recognize?
don't.
I don't recognize it. Not only that, these guys might have been involved at the maybe at the search warrant, but they never, to our knowledge, they never had anything to do with actually speaking to Rosetta Grate. So then we move on to, now this is now they're going to go into the narrative of the actual search that was conducted based off of the second interview. So we're going to journey back up to that at this point.
I don't know why they have these out of order. It would be handy if they had the first interview up towards the beginning,
Yeah, yeah,
going up
sure.
and down, back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the second, so they're just falling into the supplemental reports in, newest to oldest is what it looks like to me.
Oh,
They did. So, which it is annoying for somebody like me who doesn't want to screw around with all this, but here we go anyway. Okay, so I'll try to read this one and spare Cherie of more uncomfortable words. It's not that she's prude or she's just, some words are uncomfortable for some people to say. And I'll be quite honest with you, these words that I say so much more easily now, I wasn't comfortable saying them either until we started digging into this case. And then I just got to a point where I was like, fuck it, I'm not trying to, be appropriate anymore. It was pointless to me. So
you have to talk about these things with this case because that's what it's about.
exactly, you just yeah, if we're trying to be, I don't want to say proper or prim or prissy. It's not about that. It's just, anyway, here we go. But you can't do that with this case because that's what this whole case is about, is that kind of stuff. So on 9/2, September 2nd, Rosetta Grate contacted Detective Holman via telephone from the Oklahoma County Jail. Rosetta said she had time to sober up and had information that could be valuable for the detectives. So Detective Holman told Rosetta that they would come and see her at noon, and they did. We have that interview as well. So this is the information that Rosetta gave on this second interview. Now that she's sober, I think other things. I think now that she's had time to make some shit up is what I think. But anyway, she gave the following information. Rosetta talked about the sexual assault and where it occurred at Willie's house, the Culbertson house. Rosetta and Willie sleep in different rooms. Rosetta said where the incident occurred was her bedroom upstairs. She described her bedroom. She thought there could be some evidence still in the room because no one ever goes in the room. Rosetta said after her fourth relapse, Willie made her move into another room. This room is full of books from the lady that used to live there, but has since passed away. Rosetta said during the sexual assault, the suspect pulled her up closer to him to adjust himself. Rosetta said since there was no protection used, she wiped her vagina off with a towel that was out of her closet. After the incident, she threw the towel or rag in the closet and has not been back since. She described the towel as white, possibly with a blue stripe. She said the towel could be a hand towel. She said she hasn't talked to Willie about this information. She hasn't talked to anybody about the information because I don't believe that information ever existed. Anyway, Rosetta then started talking about the railing around the bed. She drew a picture of her bedroom. Rosetta said she performed oral sex on the suspect at the end of her bed. Rosetta described when someone isn't clean, when she has to perform oral sex, she wipes her hand on her mouth. Rosetta said she did this during the oral sex. She wiped her hand on her mouth and then touched the top of the chair next to her bed. Rosetta was tearful and upset because Willie said this wouldn't have happened if she hadn't relapsed. We'll talk about that as well, if not today, at least as we move on with this case. Rosetta continued to say this wasn't enough time. This wasn't enough, and then the suspect, wanted to do it. Rosetta said the suspect pulled her up to the edge of the bed. Rosetta told us to pay attention to the chair. Pay attention to the chair. There's only one chair in her room, and she touched the top of that chair. Rosetta said she also grabbed the side of the bed, which they later determined to be the box spring, which is still covered in plastic. She pulled up the comforter because she didn't want to get anything on the bedspread. Okay. Listen, I already am suspicious about everything she was saying the very first time I even read it. But I pulled up the comforter because I don't want to get anything on the bedspread. So I don't have a bedspread on my bed. I have a comforter and then my blanket and my sheet. I know some people may put a comforter on their bed to cover the bedspread. Possibly. I don't really know. I've never done it, so I don't know. But she pulled the comforter up, which was white. It just remind you back in the first interview, it was white because she said the comforter was white and it had already been washed since the incident. That's so convenient. But here she says she pulled the comforter up because she didn't want to get anything on the bedspread. If that's how people make their beds with a bedspread and then a comforter over the top, I would think that I would rather have something on the bedspread that I'm going to cover with the comforter than on the white comforter. Anybody else thinking, does that make sense to anybody else?
Yeah.
I don't, Cherie, do you have a sheet, a blanket, a bedspread, and then a comforter on your bed?
No.
I mean, you don't have to answer, but it just seems really strange to me.
We just have a blanket and a bedspread. Nothing fancy.
Yeah. And, when you guys get to see the pictures of inside of this bedroom, this is nothing fancy. This room is nothing fancy. I do have some water. Let me take a drink of water.
Want me to take over?
Yeah, if you take over. There's not a whole lot less to the juicy parts of this. So, but yeah, that's just my thinking. I just can't imagine that that is how it really happened. So anyway, she didn't want to get anything on the bedspread. So here, what's that?
I think it's interesting that she said that she actually said the comforter she thought had been washed a couple times since then. But then in this report, according to Kim, she says that nobody ever goes in there. And Rosetta said she hadn't been in there since, but they washed the comforter twice. Okay.
Right.
That
Yeah.
doesn't add up.
does not add up. Absolutely. Thank you for adding that. Okay. This is where we're at, Cherie.
Okay. Rosetta said after the assault ended, she got the rag off her dresser, wiped her vagina, and then threw it into the closet. Rosetta described her bedroom is upstairs, second room on the right. There are a bunch of books in this room. Rosetta then described her closet. She said there are possibly 9 drawers and then the top part. She thinks possibly the towel is sitting on top of the drawers inside her closet. Rosetta again said she wanted us to focus on the chair and the rag in the closet. She said just in case she moved the rag, it could be in the second or third drawer next to the bed. Rosetta talked for several minutes about relapsing, and she doesn't want to do that again. She talked about Will taking care of her granddaughter. The interview lasted several more minutes, then ended.
So that was the second interview. And yeah, when you get to see the video of that, it's kind of gross in the way that, not in the things that she's saying, but the way that I feel very, very much so that she's lying. It's so disgusting how I feel like she's lying. So this was one we've already read. This is the information given by the neighbor across the street. And she didn't recall seeing a police car in the driveway, but who knows? So then, based on the information Rosetta gave Detective Holman and I during the second interview, that's when they did the search warrant, because they now want to go in and completely go over this room with a fine-tooth comb and find all of this DNA that she's told them they're going to find from Daniel in this bedroom. So let me just kind of, I'm trying to see when they actually did this is where they, trying to find out the exact date. Was it on 9/13? I mean 9/3? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is when I'll let Cherie read all of this too. But this is when all of these officers and everybody who attended the search of the bedroom upstairs. And again, let me just say really quickly that Willie was very upset about this when he when they went to pop this search on his house. I don't blame him. He didn't know what the hell was going on, honestly. So I'll let Cherie go ahead and start.
On 9/3/14, the above listed officers executed the search warrant on 633 Culberson Drive. Sergeant Cadena knocked on the door and called for Willie to come to the door. There was no answer. Sergeant Cadena knocked on the door and called for Willie again. There was no answer. Sergeant Cadena knocked on the door, cut the chain. Okay, I'm sorry. The bars on the door were locked with a chain and a padlock. Sergeant Henry cut the chain with bolt cutters. The wooden door was open. Sergeant Cadena announced they were the police and had a search warrant. Officers entered the house. Detective Holman and I were on the perimeter and did not enter the house until it was secured. Willie Carter was detained at the top of the stairs. I explained the situation and gave him a copy of the search warrant. Willie was hateful and wasn't cooperative at all. He was seated on the front porch, and a gang officer sat with him while the search was completed. CSI McBride took overall photographs of the residence. Detective Holman, myself, and CSI McBride went to the bedroom Rosetta described on the second floor. It was exactly as she described. CSI McBride took photographs of the bedroom and collected the back of a chair, a pair of black panties, and a pair of white underwear. The underwear were white in color with a blue stripe around the waistband. Both the underwear and the panties were in the closet.
Sorry, hang on a second. I just want to chime in here. You know me, I can't just let some shit go, right?
Got stuff to say.
I do have stuff to say, even if I can't speak. Nothing keeps me quiet. You know that, Cherie, and others in the chat probably know the same. I will talk no matter if I can or not. So, she says here that the underwear wear white in color with the blue stripe around the waistband. And I'm going to show you pictures. I'm going to try to pull those up for you today, just so you guys can see what the evidence pictures, because it's astounding. Think back to where she said in this second interview that she used a towel that she thought might be a hand towel that was white, and she thought it had a blue stripe in it. When I show you some of these pictures, you're going to learn that it is nothing at all like a towel. And it's not just a pair of underwear. You'll see when I show you these pictures. Okay, starting with 4. Go ahead.
For information on his collection, see Sergeant McBride's supplemental report. Once the search was complete, Willie was allowed back in the house and it was turned over to him.
Okay. So this is that's the shift lineup information. We don't need to look at that. We know here's the thing. We know Daniel was on shift with all of these accusations, except for the Janie Liggins thing, which we, way back in the beginning. But we know he's on shift, yet they still show the shift lineups for every single accuser. I don't know what the point was. I don't know. I guess it's important to show that. But,
show how meticulous they are.
Yeah, I guess. Look, see, he was on shift on this day that we said he assaulted her too. So yeah, it's just stupid. So that was the first interview here of Rosetta Grate that we've already read. And that's the CAD information. I'm really sorry. Like Cherie said, it's really annoying that they didn't make these easier for us to follow along with. Okay, so here is the evidence collected. Wait a second. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, here's the evidence that they collected during that search. Cherie, do you want to?
Evidence item number 1, black leather seat back, removed from wooden chair in upstairs southeast bedroom, serology. Evidence item number 2, pair of white underwear in lower right cubby of storage unit in closet of upstairs southeast bedroom, serology. Evidence item number 3, pair of black underwear in lower left cubby of storage unit in closet of upstairs southeast bedroom, serology.
I'm not sure that she said anything about black underwear. Did she say anything about black underwear? Maybe she did.
No, she didn't say anything about white underwear either, but
no, she didn't. But it's there. So yeah. So, and listen, I don't know if this is a standard with every police department or every search warrant, but I know that I've been, unfortunately, unfortunately, I've been caught up in a couple of raids in houses and on the side of the road. Not my raids, but when you're hanging around with people. So anyway, Um, from my knowledge, or at least here in Utah, where I've been, caught up in some raids like this, they only take they when they write the warrant, they write the things that they intend to take from the home or whatever they're searching, the vehicle or the home or whatever. And I know in my brother's cases, they were looking for very specific things, and they only took the things that they had listed on their search warrant. Uh, if there was something else that they saw that would be beneficial to the case, they could um, apply for a second search warrant or an amended search warrant to get the other things that they found that would be useful to their case. But to take things that weren't a part of their original search warrant, at least in my experience, they couldn't do that. And it, like I said, if there was something else, they would have to amend the search warrant or get a second search warrant to go back and collect that evidence that they found. I don't know if that's the case in Oklahoma City or anywhere else, but they didn't have white underwear on the list of things that they wanted to take from the home, because she didn't mention white underwear. So if by them, I just wonder if by them taking that white underwear and black underwear, if if that was legal for them to do. It may be, but I don't know.
In New
But
York, there is the plain view doctrine. Like,
right,
if they're looking for a knife and they happen to see a gun sitting there, they can take that, I guess. If they think could be related. But
right,
they can't like dig through something where they're not gonna find what they originally were looking for and find.
right,
That would be wrong. Because it's not in plain view.
right. Yeah.
That's for New York. I don't know about.
Well, and the plain view doctrine, I think, is pretty standard, um, as far as I know. And that could be the way it's done here as well, plain view. But like you said, because what is it called? Fruit of the poisonous tree. If they go digging for, would that be fruit of the poisonous tree? If they go digging for the one item that's on the list, but they find something else, that's like you said, that's not plain view, or is that plain view? I
Well,
don't know. I'm not.
Well, it would fit if it would be reasonable for them to be looking in that place, for the thing that they're supposed to be looking for, then it wouldn't be, from my experience anyway. But if they go looking in places, if they have already found what they need and they're still looking in other places or something like that, then you know what I'm saying? If it's
Yeah,
reasonable
yeah,
to find it there and they haven't yet found it yet, whatever they're
right,
supposed to be looking for. But fruit
right.
of the
No,
poisonous tree is like if they did search somewhere where they're not supposed to be searching and find something, but anything that and anything connected to that could be not. It could be suppressed, if you know what I mean.
suppressed. Yes, you know what? That's the word I was looking for, was suppressed to
Yeah.
describe all of this stuff. So yes, perfect. Okay, back to the report, Cherie, if you're okay reading those.
Okay. On 9/3 at approximately 900 hours, I responded to the offices of the OCPD Sex Crimes Unit in reference to meeting with the detectives regarding serving of a search warrant at 633 Culberson Drive. After a briefing was conducted with the involved detectives along with members of the OCPD Gang Enforcement Unit, we proceeded to the scene, arriving at approximately 9:40 hours. Once at the scene, gang unit officers and sex crimes detectives served a warrant and secured the residence. I then began my duties at the scene. First, I took a brief overall photographs of the exterior of the residence. I then moved inside to the upstairs southeast bedroom. I took overall photographs of this room. Entering the room from the second floor landing placed me in the northwest corner of the room. There were bookshelves along the north, east, and west walls of the room. A bed was roughly centered in the room. A wooden chair with a black leather seat cushion and seat back was sitting near the southwest corner of the bed. At the south end of the west wall was a door that opened into a bathroom. Excuse me. Roughly centered on the west wall was a door that opened into a closet. At the request of the detectives, I collected the leather seat back, evidence item number 1, from the previously mentioned chair. In the closet of the bedroom was a storage unit. The lower portion of the storage unit was comprised of drawers. The upper portion of the storage was made up of 2 rows of 3 small storage areas. In the lower right small storage area, I located a pair of white underwear, evidence item number 2. In the lower left small storage area, I located a pair of black underwear, evidence item number 3. Both of these items were photographed and collected. I concluded my duties at the scene at approximately 10:40 hours. Upon returning to the CSU office, I secured evidence items 1 through 3 in the CSU lab. I then uploaded the photographs I had taken into the crime scene photos folder to be archived. On 9/4/14, I returned to the CSU lab and packaged evidence items 1 through 3. I then booked these items into the OCPD property room.
Okay, and that was by Sergeant McBride, the CSI lady. So then this is the waiver for the buccal swabs, I believe, from Kim Davis and the first interview. This is the affidavit for the search warrant at 633 Culbertson, and typical. Actually, I haven't read through all of this. I'm really curious. I'm going to have to read through this. Let's, well, I don't know. Do I want to get into this right now? I think I do. Okay, let's just start with during the investigation, Cherie. This is the affidavit for the search warrant on, I want to see what she says. This is going to tell us where, what she said, what was going to be collected in the thing. So if you want to read that, Cherie.
Okay. During the investigation, a victim, RG, was located and interviewed. This interview took place on 8/28/14. Wrong date. During the interview, she disclosed the following. She was walking in the area of Northeast 14th and Jordan. The unidentified officer drove up behind her. The officer got out of his vehicle and talked with RG. He searched her purse and found a crack pipe. The officer made her break the crack pipe and offered to give her a ride home. RG accepted the ride. RG said when she went inside her residence, 633 Culbertson Drive, she said this is not her house, but she lives there with her boyfriend, Will. When she went inside her residence, she noticed the officer followed her. She thought he was verifying that she had told him the truth and she actually lived at the residence. She also stated she was on probation and didn't want to get in trouble, so she didn't say anything about the officer being in her house. She stated the officer followed her upstairs to her bedroom. He told her to sit down. She complied and sat on the edge of the bed. The officer pushed on the chair in her room to move it out of the way. She said the officer made the statement, "This is better than county." He took his penis out of his pants and he had an erection. She said he put his penis in her mouth and made her perform oral sodomy. RG said she felt like she didn't have a choice or he would put her in jail. She said the officer's penis wasn't very clean, so she wiped her tongue with her hand and rubbed her hand on the chair in the bedroom. RG said the officer told her to lay back. She complied. She said he got on top of her and put his penis in her vagina. She said he was not wearing a condom. When he was finished, he zipped his pants up and left the residence. RG did not report this incident to the police department. On 9/2/14, RG contacted your affiant. Your affiant and Detective Holman went to meet with RG. She said she needed to give us more information. She said after the officer sexually assaulted her, she cleaned her vagina off with a small towel. She described it to be about the size of a hand towel. She said after she wiped her vagina, she threw the towel in the closet. RG said nobody uses her closet and nobody knows about the towel, so it should still be there. RG did not know the officer's name who assaulted her. However, she reported the incident. When she reported the incident, Officer Holtzclaw was already under investigation for similar incidents. During the investigation, it was determined this incident occurred on 4/24/14. A VL of Officer Holtzclaw's vehicle was pulled on 4/24/14, and it matched to the information RG gave your affiant. His vehicle was stopped for several minutes at Northeast 14th and Jordan. The AVL showed the vehicle drove to 633 Culberson Drive and stayed for over 15 minutes. Your affiant notes the charges of rape 1 and forcible oral sodomy have already been filed by the Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office in reference to this case. Your affiant checked the OCPD computer system for 633 Culberson Drive. RG and Willie Carter have reported this to be their address. Your affiant conducted a utility check on 633 Culberson Drive. The utilities checked to Willie Carter. Forensic chemists state that when sexual intercourse or sexual contact occurs, body fluids transfer. This investigator knows that body fluids can remain on items for indefinite periods of time. The towel that RG used to wipe her vagina needs to be seized in order to determine if there is human ejaculate or body fluids present. In addition, trace evidence from the officer, including hairs from the officer's pubic area, ejaculate, or fingerprints may still be present in the residence. Your affiant advises it may be necessary to physically cut and remove the fabric/material from the chair in the bedroom to recover the transfer evidence from the residence. 633 Culberson Drive in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County has been reported to be the location of a residence where the crime of forcible oral sodomy and rape 1 has occurred and is a crime scene that needs to be processed by the Oklahoma City Police Department sex crimes investigators and CSI. Based on the above listed information, your affiant requests a search warrant to be issued for the residence located at 633 Culberson Drive, so it may be processed for the aforementioned evidence. Nighttime service is not requested.
Did you, like I said, I haven't read through all of that before. Cherie, I don't know if you've read through all of it or not before or not, but did you pick out some inconsistencies in that? I sure did.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, but I can't think of them right now. I'll have to look back at it again. What were yours?
We're going to look back right now. I should have marked them when I saw them, but I didn't. Let's see. Well, first of all, she's got some dates incorrect here. The interview took place on 8/28/14. We know that, like you said, that was an incorrect date. We're all human. Mistakes get made. I get it. I understand.
Right.
I think this is serious kind of stuff, and everything needs to be 100% accurate, in my opinion, when you're talking about the freedom of an individual. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go here. RG said when she went inside, said that this was not her house, but she lived with her boyfriend, Will. Well, like I said, I dispute that he was her boyfriend, and I think he disputes it as well. Anyway, she went inside and noticed the officer followed her. That's all part of the interview. Thought that he was verifying she lived there. She was on probation. She said the officer followed her upstairs and told her to sit down. She complied and sat on the edge of the bed. The officer pushed on the chair in her room to move it out of the way. This might be in the first interview that gets said, but it's definitely not in the initial report from the first interview, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember it. I think she said she said he touched it like the second when they came back the second time, but I don't remember it being pushed.
Right. I don't remember her ever saying that. She said the officer made the statement that this is better than county. That I remember that. She said he took his penis out of his pants and had an erection. That's part of the interview. She said he put his penis in her mouth and made her perform oral sodomy. Felt like she didn't have choice or she would be put in jail. The officer's penis was, this is not how I remember this described, was not very clean. So she wiped her tongue with her hand and rubbed it on the chair in the bedroom. I don't remember that being said that way. She said when somebody is not clean, that she will wipe her face, basically wipe her mouth off is the way I remember it, not those exact words. And what I understood when she talks about them not being clean, my interpretation of that is that they weren't, what is it called? Manscaped. They weren't shaved. When the man isn't shaven, when he's not clean, he's not shaved. But which means that there's going to be pubic hairs that are going to be left possibly on or in or around her mouth. And so she wipes her face to remove those pubic hairs. That's what I understood that to mean in the interview. I could be wrong. That's just my impression. So in that case, for Kim Davis in the search warrant to say, in the affidavit to say that she said the officer's penis wasn't very clean, none of that is what I heard in the interview or saw in the original police report. It's not how it was said at all. Other than she wiped her mouth and touched the top of the chair. That's all I remember. All this other, titillating information was not what I remember seeing or hearing or written in the report. She said that, let's see. He told her to lay back and she complied. She said he got on top of her and put his penis in her vagina. That's not what she said. That's not what she said. I believe what
getting on top of her. You mean?
Huh?
You mean he not getting on top of her? She didn't say
right.
that.
Right. She says that he pulled her to the edge of the bed and proceeded to have intercourse with her because she claims, Rosetta Grate claims, that his gun was slapping her on her cheek, I guess on her ass cheek, I don't know. But she doesn't say he got on top of her and put his penis in her vagina. She said he pulled her to the edge of the bed. Basically, she's laying at the edge of the bed, exposed, and he's hitting it from the edge of the bed while he's standing up, not lying on top of her. That's how I remember that interview information. So that to me is a lie. That's all a lie right there. She said she did say that she didn't think he was wearing a condom. She said when he was finished, he zipped up his pants and left the residence. That is not what she said. What did she say, Cherie? Do you remember what Rosetta said in the interview and what Kim Davis put in the police report. Do you remember what she said? I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
You're saying that she did not say that he finished and zipped up and left?
Right.
What do you remember? I'm not sure.
I remember Rosetta saying in the interview, and it was put in the police report for the first interview, that I think Rosetta said something like she was just wanting it to get over or end or something. And so she said she thought she heard the door, and she said the door, and that he
Right.
zipped up and took off and left the residence. And she didn't say he finished. She said that he was still in the middle of doing what he was doing, and that she said she heard the door and he just stopped and zipped up and left. That's a lie to me. That's a lie in this or an affidavit. And I don't know, maybe these are small things, but like I said, when we're talking about the freedom of a man's freedom, nothing can be, there can't be mistakes or, half truths like this in any of this. So that's just me.
Right.
So that's a lie that I can definitely point out. Oh, damn it. I'm having a hard time scrolling. And then of course we know all the business about the towel, the difference of the towel and all that. There was no towel found, but they did take the underwear that sounded like a towel. So here he says the affidavit for Davis was one small towel, which was not there. They didn't collect a small towel, but there was going to be hair, blood, saliva, semen, and or other bodily fluids which may be transferred during sexual activity and all those things. They were looking for fingerprints, fibers, and other transfer evidence which might be present at the residence, and articles of personal property tending to establish the identity of the person or persons in control or possession of all blah blah blah. So it does kind of say, I guess, here what I was talking about earlier, and that they could collect other articles of personal property tending to establish identity of the person or persons in control, and stuff like that. And that's where they found the information about Willie Carter being, the one in control of the home with the utility bill. Then they described the home. And then that's kind of, and then they go over the laws in Oklahoma City, blah, 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 blah. Let me make this a little smaller so it doesn't do this. Okay, and then we're not going to spend a lot of time going over this because this is indisputable information, quite honestly. So this doesn't even have anything to do with Daniel because these are not his call letters and numbers. So I don't even know why that's part of it. But anyway, these are what I'm going to do later. I have done these maps and I'll show them to you next time. I might even put them in Discord now that I think about it. But these are some of the AVL map information that we got that's in the police report. And listen, Cherie knows this, and those of you who have been, following along as long as I've been doing this case, I am very suspect of the AVL information. Beside the fact that I think it was pulled in advance of when they said they pulled it. I don't buy the information that they have on the AVL stuff. So I have taken a lot of time in the past and gone through these different AVL maps, and I've done color, I've added color to them, and made the different, like where it says here, Daniel, it shows Daniel's patrol vehicle at, oh, I know what's going to happen. I don't want it to. These little dots here, these little diamond things here, are where Daniel's vehicle was, either passing or sitting for any particular amount of time. So I'm going to show you those maps that I've spent a lot of time colorizing for, and making them far more clear. And I'll, I don't know, I might even be able to pull some of them up here, and so we can just kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. I'm very suspect of the maps in Daniel in all of these AVL maps that were used. I have yet to really find anything that is, shows, Hank, messing with them and adjusting numbers and, times and stuff like that. I don't really know for sure that it's happened, but I know that they get lied about, and, that, what they twisted around to say is not always what actually is occurring. And again, I want to reiterate, like I do every single time, that just because they have AVL of Daniel stopping all of these women, and in the locations, using my air quotes, where they say he stopped them and all those things, that doesn't prove anything except that Daniel made the stop when and where the information says he did. It can't show that any sort of activity was taking place, just that he was there from point A to point B from this time to this time. That's all it shows. Yet this is they make this AVL evidence sound like, look, this proves he sexually assaulted this individual because the AVL says he was there. And it worked. It worked on the jury. And it's just insane to me that it worked that way. Anyway, Sheree, do you want to, this is, we talked about the items that were submitted. Do you want to go through read through the analysis and the results really quickly?
Attempted to develop a DNA profile from the evidence submitted. They're talking about the underwear and the seat back, and compare to DNA isolated from SD 14-273. I guess they're talking about the pants, right? Or are they talking about Daniel's
Sorry, I was muted.
DNA?
Let's see. From the evidence submitted and compared DNA, from the pants.
Okay. Item number 3. Oh, okay. Item number 3, the black leather seat back and the 2 pairs of underwear were negative to acid phosphate, a presumptive test for seminal fluid. Microscopic examination of items 2 and 3, the underwear and panties, were negative for the presence of spermatozoa. DNA was isolated from items number 2A, underwear swab, and number 3A, panties crotch swab, and characterized through the PCR at the short tandem repeat STR genetic loci listed on the attached chart. No results were obtained from the underwear swab or the panties crotch swab. The remaining bulk evidence will be returned to the Oklahoma City Police Department Evidence Storage Facility. The remaining DNA extracts are retained in the Oklahoma City Police Department DNA freezer. This is signed by our favorite senior forensic scientist, Elaine Taylor. Not really.
Who was the son-in-law of Detective Rocky Gregory at the time. and whose son also, we haven't talked about this because it's mostly related to Janie Liggins' particular accusation, but her son, Brian Taylor, is also involved in the case. But there's no conflicts of interest. No conflicts of interest in this case at all. Anyway, so that's basically, I mean, there's a few more pages to this, but that's the basic, you know, police report of the accuser, Rosetta Grate. What this last little bit that Cherie read through, what it says is that none of Daniel's DNA, no pubic hairs, no sperm or ejaculate, no saliva, no skin cells, nothing. There was no DNA found on any of the items that Rosetta Grate said they would find evidence on. Nothing. Everything was completely clear of Daniel. Yes. Yeah, Kim Davis said everything the girls said checked out and nothing Daniel said did. Exactly what she said. And I always come back when I see that. She said that in an interview with one of the news stations. She loved to talk to the reporters about all this shit. But she did say that. And the thing that's funny about that is that she says everything the girls said checked out and nothing Daniel said did. They only ever interviewed Daniel one time. One time. They only spoke to Daniel one time. So he didn't even respond to any other than Janie Liggins. He didn't respond to any of it. Any of it. So it's funny to me that she even said that because it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, Michelle, and even with Janie Liggins, Michelle Malkin said that to them that everything, their story, what Daniel said and what Janie Liggins said matched up, all except the sexual part. But right. Michelle goes, well, there's no evidence that happened. But then Kim goes, well, there's no evidence that it didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is evidence because there was none of Daniel's DNA was in her mouth or on her face or anywhere, like, what about that, Kim?
Yeah. It's so some of these things are kind of might seem like small things that I don't know. I don't know how to explain what I mean. Anyway, I do have these some of these maps that I've kind of played with a little bit. I do have them pulled up. Let me see if I can share them. But I really want to get the pictures of. I'll do this first. So let me see if I can make this work, you guys. Okay, can you see that on the screen?
I can.
Okay, so you guys can see the house, right? Okay, perfect. Yep. So this is the house, the outside of the house. This is what we saw a couple of July of 2023. This house didn't look like this at the time that of the alleged assault, but this is what it looks like now. From what we could tell, it looked like this might have been added on, or something might have been knocked out of this wall here or something. I'm not really sure, but this was an enclosed porch, I believe, at the time, and that might be all of this might have been just part of that enclosed porch. But that's basically what it looks like now. So I don't know why is this going to make me do it. for every one of them. That'll be frustrating. I have more pictures loaded in here, but it's not letting me. Anyway, I don't know why it's not letting me. It's just not letting me show the other stuff. Damn it. Maybe I just have to do it one at a time. So, yeah, I guess it wants me to do it one at a time. Anyway, and I don't want to do that. But what I'm going to do is show the. Dang it, where's those other pictures? I wanted to show the AVL maps that I had done just to give an idea of what they look like. But I guess I have to figure out something else of how to do that. Anyway, let me try just one more time. Sorry, guys. I'll just do just a couple of them to give you the idea. Okay, this is the one I really wanted to show most. Okay, so this is one of the, when I was telling you how I had, colorized the maps and different things like that, this is kind of what I was talking about. So this map is what you got in the police report. It was just all black and white, kind of faded and not really very, easily read. So I went through these maps, a lot of these maps, and I've, kind of done time code keys and, marked certain places, certain homes in this case, and different, information that's given. And if this has always been in an attempt to, because I just believe that some of the AVLs have been kind of monkeyed with as far as times and things like that. So I kind of have gone through and done a lot of that. And so, like I said, I will try to put those into Discord or just find another way of sharing them all with you if I put them on a slides or something for next time, so that you guys can see all of it. So I don't know. I feel like that was basically a pretty good rundown of just what the police report said. Now, none of that might make very much sense to you, or you might think like, well, there's really no evidence in there of anything. But when we get to the interviews that are recorded, the recorded interviews with the detectives, you might be able to think back and say, oh, okay, I remember this now, and the police report doesn't add up, or whatever the case might be. So that's what we're going to plan to do for next week. And I just want to go through the chat. Cherie, do you have anything else to add to what we talked about today, what you mostly read?
No, I think we've done a pretty good job throughout commenting on things, so I'm good.
Okay. If you have any questions in the chat, if you have any questions about what we've kind of ran through, just, don't hesitate to ask us. But now I want to kind of go through the chat and say hello to some people we might have missed earlier, or I might have missed earlier, and say hello and give a huge appreciation for everyone for being here. Again, thank you so much, Under Your Scars, for your suggestions and your help with my voice. I appreciate it. So while I was busy scrolling, Voice of the People dropped in to say hello. Hello, Richard. Thank you so much for being here. You may or may not remember Voice of the People. His name is Richard. He read trial transcripts for us of Rocky. He read the parts for Rocky Gregory and Galen Giger. And so he helped us out a great deal with that. We have more coming, so just beware of that, Richard. There's more coming. So I'm sure you're still willing to help, as well as some other folks I know. And Liam, it is so great to see you. And thank you so much for being here. I wanted to share too that Liam shared some really, really nice Christmas music with us in Discord and on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. But he also shared them with us in my Discord, Daniel's Truth. It was really nice. It was really nice music. You do very, very well. So thank you. And I think I saw 24. I think I mentioned 24/7 live Arizona skies. Thank you so much for being here. Um, and Liam's done a lot of. I think Liam has listened to all of the podcasts that Brian Bates has done, and he's been really good at keeping up with. He's in the Discord, and Liam's very knowledgeable about the case. Someone who came into it knowing nothing a couple of years ago and has really put in a lot of effort to learn about the case. And I think on his own, maybe with some, I don't want to say coercion, but some of our opinions, may have helped. But I think he also, thinks that this case was full of corruption as well. Um, and Okay, and so I think this is Liam referring back to what I was talking about her Rosetta Grate being at the edge of the bed in the police report, and not that Daniel climbed on top of her and raped her in the way that Kim Davis said it in the um, affidavit for the search warrant. Um, And yes, that's a word that we haven't really used in regards to these accusers, but recruited is another really good. We usually say that, everything was reverse engineered or fabricated or crafted or whatever, but recruited to make these accusations is valid, a valid way to describe that. Um, and Liam, you're not wrong. They recruited themselves looking for a payout from the city. Right. You're absolutely right. And Rocky and Blinky, aka Kim Davis, gave them enough information to get the dollar signs ka-chinging in their eyes. Yeah, absolutely. Um, the maps were window dressing used to bamboozle the jury and overload them. Yeah, absolutely. I can't even argue with that. That's all they were, window dressing, another good term. And let's see. Uh, Liam says, referring to Daniel, he never denied doing his job and driving his patrol routes because that's all the AVL shows. Yes. So much easier and nicer than the way I always try to explain it. Thank you, Liam. I always find the hardest way to explain shit, and then people are like, what did she just fucking say? Yeah, that's me. Um, yeah, I can't specify this enough. And I think this actual quote is, you hear this at the end, I think, of a lot, if not all, of Bates' podcasts, where she says in the interview about what the girl said checking out and what Daniel said didn't. He didn't say anything about the girls because he didn't never talk to them again after they interrogated him. Um, Liam says she didn't just poison the well, she replaced the water with fracking fluid. Excuse me. Yeah, she definitely destroyed it. Um, and then, yeah, that's true too. There's no evidence that she didn't cheat on her detective. exams. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And Joffrey, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate seeing you in the chat. And Happy New Year to you as well. And it's okay. We're about to wrap up in just a couple minutes, but you can go back and listen to it on replay when you get a chance. Thank you so much. And let's see. Uh, let's see. Liam says the quality of their evidence preparation matched the quality of their investigation. Yep. Um, oh, yeah. Well, and Rhonda sounds so sultry. Well, I appreciate that. I'm taking note of the laughing emoji right next to that. Yeah, it's pretty disturbing, I know. Um, yes, I am familiar with that case, Joffrey. Um, and Cherie says that she copied the recipes and suggestions uh, from Under Your Scars for me to fix my um, nasty throat and voice. Sniffy but sultry. Thanks. You're so complimentary. I appreciate you so much. um, let's see. Matt Walsh. Let's see here. It's expected he gets a new trial, and I was thinking this might apply to Daniel as well. I'll have to look into that. I haven't really been following it at all. Let's see. Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. I did hear about this, the Daniel Penny case for sure, Joffrey. Um, Crazy, crazy case. And Sheila, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And I always appreciate seeing you in the chat and everybody. I appreciate seeing everyone in the chat. And Sheila, I love your dog. I want to hold him and hug him and snuggle him. I need a new pet to snuggle and love. He's gorgeous. Yeah, isn't he cute? Oh, he's so cute. Is that a Roddy, Sheila, or a Pit? It's cute. Looks like the face looks like more like Pit, I guess, than Roddy. But anyway, okay. Wow. So, excuse me. Okay, I managed to get through that for the most part. I'll be able to try to rest my voice for the rest of the week and hopefully clear out my head and not be so sultry sounding next time. But anyway, if you have any questions, oh, Frenchie, really? Oh, all right. Yeah, well, whatever he is, Frenchie, Rottweiler, Pitbull, he's cute, and I just would love to squeeze his face. He's so cute. Anyway, so we are going to end this one here. Rosetta Grate's case is another one that's pretty wild. I mean, I know I say that about all of them. Some of them are just more wild than some of the others, but because Rosetta has so many blatant lies that just in that little bit there, we were kind of able to pick out for you. It just makes hers interesting, but she's also a very interesting character. So I don't know, unless you go and get a head start and watch the podcast interviews yourself first, you might be entertained when we come back with those next week. So, but I think that's all we have today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Whenever, or on any of the other videos that we've done as well. You can go back if you have a question, you see one that you have questions about, definitely, don't hesitate to ask. I try to check my notifications several times a day, but I do miss some. So, you know, if I don't get right back to you, maybe mention it again another time, or you know, I'll try to keep up with them. But I feel like that's pretty much all that we have, unless Cherie wants to say anything else.
No, thank you. It was good to go over these things again and get freshly infuriated.
Right. Exactly. And in this case, having read through that entire affidavit for the search warrant, I was like, oh, wait, there's information there that I hadn't seen before. So, yes. Okay. So, new year, new permanent schedule. Sunday afternoons, it'll be 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Central, and then just from wherever you're at from there.
3 p.m. Eastern.
3 p.m. Eastern, yes. So that's our plan for the schedule going forward. And again, with some grace for me, because there's always some crazy shit that happens, and at the last minute it seems like. But I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try to, you know, working really hard at trying to make sure that I stay consecutive and consistent with everything that we're going to present. So, okay, well, I will say until next time, peace out.